So in today's video, we're going to be breaking down Stephan Speaks' video about 5 feminine traits that are irresistible to men. It's this video right here. I'll also link it below. And he gives his perspective as a man, what he finds, and he's also a relationship coach and whatnot. So he coaches a lot of couples or men, and he knows firsthand kind of what men find really attractive in women, and he discussed it. So he picked 5 top traits. I took some notes, I broke it down a little bit for what I think, and I'm going to give you my perspective. But before we get into it, have you had a chance to subscribe to my channel yet? If not, hit that red button below, just scroll down a little bit to the right, smash that button. Good. Now that that's done, let's get into the video. The first feminine trait that he talks about is a woman having the ability to express herself. Now, as soon as I heard him say this, I was kind of like, is that really like attractive? Because there are a lot of men who have trouble with expressing themselves due to, you know, how they were raised in society where it's like, don't cry, don't show emotion, men don't do that, blah, blah, blah. So not all men are super comfortable with expressing themselves. So when he said that, I was like, is that something they like? But as he explained it further, I understood and I agree with this. So he talks about women expressing themselves as being in their feminine energy, and it just not only is good for the relationship, but it's also good for the person. So what he means by that is, if you're a person that suppresses your emotions, you're having a lot of toxicity in your body. It's not good. Anybody who has suppressed their emotions has been suppressed by their parents or whatnot. Like, you have a lot of pain inside of you. It's not peaceful. It hurts. It allows you to like be bottled up and just stuck and probably very like rigid, and just, it's not a clear space. Having a woman that is capable of expressing herself is a very amazing thing, because it, one, allows for no confusion. If the woman is clear on either how she's feeling or what she wants or this and that, the man knows. The man can solve that problem. The man can understand what either he needs to do or what he needs to help her do or whatever it is. So it really helps a man having a woman that can easily express herself. It allows you to have a deeper connection together because everything is out on the table, or at least on your end it is. If you think about the opposite of not expressing yourself, that would be very closed off. It would be maybe you're a little bit colder, maybe you're not very open. There's not maybe as much to talk about. There's room for miscommunication and confusion because the guy doesn't know what you're thinking. He can't read your mind. So it's actually a lot of masculine energy because, as I said before, men are taught that they shouldn't express themselves. So if you're a woman and you're not expressing yourself a lot, like, then you have 2 people in the relationship. I'm talking heterosexual. It's just what I know more and what Stephan Speaks was talking about. It's just like 2 masculine energies trying to connect, and that just doesn't always work that well long term. So expressing yourself and being flowing and free is very feminine. That's in your feminine energy, and that is very attractive to men, apparently. But I would agree. Number 2, he called it being open-minded and not judgmental. Now, everything we're talking about in this video, obviously, like, it would be great for both parties to be like this, but I'm going to give some examples, and he gives some examples of when women are specifically like this for men. So, like, obviously, it would be great if all guys were not judgmental and open-minded for women as well, but you know what I mean. Men specifically have a harder time being blocked in and like kind of rigid and controlled, you could say. So what I mean by that is being open-minded. My example was, let's say your husband or your boyfriend comes home and he's like, I have this really cool business idea. I want to start this and I think it would be awesome and I'm super excited about it. And whatever he's talking about, let's see 2 responses. Response number 1 is, that's your big business idea? That's what you want to do? Well, did you think of this, this, and this? Did you think that you blah, 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 blah? Like, I really don't think you should do that. I don't think you thought this through. Like, this is actually really not a good idea for our future. Like, that's obviously being immediately judgmental, not open-minded, and they automatically feel controlled, and everything's rigid, and that's the opposite of what men want to feel. Women that don't want to feel this way either. But again, we're talking about feminine traits that are attractive to men in this video. So that's option 1. Option 2 is, wow, that's really interesting. Tell me more about your idea. Okay, he starts talking about it more. Okay, very cool. Like, this is super interesting. I never thought about this. I never thought this would be something we would do, or you would do, but let's talk about the pros and cons. Let's lay it all out. Let's brainstorm about it. And then you could, in that conversation, get to a point where maybe he could see the side of that you're feeling of maybe it's not such a good idea. But do you see how different it was? You've accepted or received the information that he gave you. You were open-minded. He did not feel controlled or boxed in. He actually felt supported rather than not supported and judged. So being open-minded, even though your initial instinct, and maybe, woman's intuition is often, very strong, whatever it is, try to practice being open-minded, because that's a very feminine, beautiful, flowing energy, and that's attractive. For a woman to be open-minded and non-judgmental and supportive, she has to feel safe enough to do so. So there's a role that a man plays in this as well. This is obviously in a relationship where both people are very serious and treat each other with respect and are wanting to build a future. The safer a woman feels, the more she can be open-minded. Now that leads us into tip number 3, which is, I'm going to say it the way I like to say it, trusting the man to lead. Now, being able to do that is a very feminine trait. The way Stephan Speaks kind of said tip number 3 was women being submissive. We don't have to call it being submissive. What he really ultimately meant, and then further discussed, was trusting the man to lead the household. Trusting the man to lead the household and letting the man lead the household doesn't equal you having no voice, you not expressing your wants and needs for the relationship, family, couple, whatever, which is a common misconception. A lot of people think if you automatically hear trusting the man to lead the household, it's kind of like, do you have any say? But of course you do. What he was saying is it's actually more taking off certain burdens off of the woman and having the man handle those things for the family. So of course, you are still taking part in discussing what's going on in your guys' family, in your guys' household, all that. But it's just more being open to the man handling those things for the families. When a man feels that you trust that they got this, it's a very, very great feeling. It's a great feeling for the couple because the woman is in a position in their relationship where she fully trusts him to handle things. And he feels, wow, my wife trusts me, that I carry this family in a certain way. She carries the family in a certain way. And like, she trusts me that I handle all of these things that she doesn't have to handle. So that's kind of more what he was talking about. Number 4, I love this one because I think I'm very good at it. I would not categorize myself as an entitled person. So number 4 is basically being very good at appreciation and gratitude, aka being down to earth and not entitled. Again, for men and women, I think there's nothing more unattractive than entitlement. If it's the smallest things of them getting you a glass of water to bringing you out to dinner to something even larger than that, expressing your gratitude. It's not hard to do, and if you find it hard, you just have to build that muscle. Depending on your upbringing, maybe you weren't reminded all the time to say your please and thank yous or this and that. So we were taught at a very young age to like, these are not things that you just go to dinner and then you go home and it's just whoop, like we didn't take things for granted. And that's what I think I'm a down to earth person. I'm not entitled. I don't think that because we're dating, like you have to do this, this, and this. Of course, people can have standards and people could have expectations that they communicate. Being down to earth and not being entitled and working that muscle of appreciation and gratitude goes such a long way. That is something I feel people sometimes neglect over time is, she knows I love her. He knows that I love that he takes out the trash. I don't have to say it again. People like to hear things over and over again, especially if their love language is words of affirmation. Like all these things tie in together. So being appreciative and showing gratitude Number 5, he talked about knowing and loving yourself. And at first I was like, where's he going with this one? But then as he explained it, totally makes sense. If you know yourself, you know what you like, what you don't like, your preferences, your standards, your expectations. You're very in tune with yourself. And if you love yourself, you're confident, you're not insecure. These are all really attractive traits that definitely impact your femininity. Again, if you don't know yourself very well, you're not going to be able to express yourself very well. Therefore, back to trait number 1 about being able to be flowing and free and express yourself and express your desires, that's very attractive. If you hardly know yourself, you're not expressing anything, really. You're expressing the bare minimum. So basically he's talking about that last point being basically self-awareness and self-love. That's really what it is. I really completely agree with everything he said in this video. It got me thinking about, my femininity. I think I'm a very feminine person naturally. So, and my partner's a very masculine person naturally. So I feel like it balances out really well. And I have no problem staying in my feminine energy. It's just naturally how I am. So it was really cool to see like, oh, I do that. I can work on that one. I can get even better at that one. Oh, I've mastered that one. I hope that if you're struggling a little bit with being in your feminine energy, that you take these tips to heart, because I think they can really, really help you as a woman, you and your relationship. Don't forget to check out his video in the description below. If you have not yet liked this video, please do so. Subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so that you get notified every time I post new content. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.